Aesop's stories. Number 61. The boy who learned to grab. In a small, cozy house near the edge of a green forest, there lived a young boy with his mother. The boy liked to play outside, running through the fields and exploring. One sunny day, while the boy was playing, he found a strange plant. It had green leaves and looked soft. The boy reached out to touch it, but as soon as his fingers brushed the leaves, he felt a sharp sting. "Ouch!" the boy cried, pulling his hand back quickly. His fingers felt like they were burning. With tears in his eyes, the boy ran back to his house. He found his mother and showed her his stinging hand. "Mom," he said, "I barely touched the plant and it hurt me." His mother looked at his hand and knew right away it was a nettle that had stung him. She took his hand gently and said, "My dear boy, when you touch a nettle softly, that is when it stings the most. If you want to pick it up, you must grab it tightly. Then it won't hurt you." The boy listened to his mother. He didn't understand how holding something tightly that hurt him would stop the pain, but he trusted her. The next day, the boy went back to the field. He saw the nettle standing there, quiet and still. He remembered his mother's words. The boy took a deep breath and reached out. This time, instead of a gentle touch, he grasped the nettle firmly in his hand. To his surprise, the nettle did not sting him this time. It felt soft in his hand. The boy's face lit up with a smile. He had learned something new. From that day on, the boy was not afraid of nettles. He knew how to handle them, and he also learned a bigger lesson. His mother explained that it's just like many things in life. If you do something with all your might and confidence, even if it seems scary or difficult, it won't hurt you. But if you do it halfway or with fear, it might not turn out well. The boy grew up to be brave and strong. He was not afraid to do things with all his might. And whenever he saw nettles, he remembered the lesson he learned as a child. Number 62. The Man with Two. In a small town, there lived a man who was no longer young but not yet old. His hair was starting to show signs of gray. This man had two sweethearts. One was young, and the other was much older. The man liked both of his sweethearts and could not decide who to be with. He spent time with both of them, trying to make them happy. The older woman felt a little embarrassed. She didn't want people to think she was with a man too young for her. So, whenever the man visited her, she would find a way to pull out some of his black hairs. She thought that if he looked older, people would think they were a better match. The younger woman had a different worry. She did not want to be with a man who looked too old. So, when she saw the man, she would carefully remove any gray hair she found. She wanted him to look younger, so she would not seem to be with an old man. The man didn't notice what was happening at first. He was too busy trying to make both sweethearts happy. But one day, he looked in the mirror and saw that he had no hair left. The black hairs and the gray hairs were all gone. He was completely bald. The man was surprised and a little sad. He realized that by trying to please both sweethearts, he ended up pleasing neither. And he certainly didn't please himself. He learned an important lesson. You cannot make everyone happy all the time. Sometimes by trying to please everyone, you might end up losing what you have. The man decided it was better to be true to himself. He stopped seeing both sweethearts. He started to spend time doing things he enjoyed, without worrying about pleasing everyone. As for the sweethearts, they were a little confused at first. But soon, they both found other people who were more suited to them. And the man? He bought a nice hat to cover his head. He would smile under his hat, knowing that it's best to be honest and not try to be what others want you to be. Number 63. The Stargazer's Fall. In a quiet village, under the blanket of night, there lived an astronomer. His passion was to gaze at the stars. Every night he would walk outside the village to look up at the twinkling sky, seeking to learn the secrets of the heavens. One clear evening, the astronomer was so busy looking up at the stars that he didn't see what was right in front of him. He walked with his eyes fixed on the sky, not noticing the path at all. While he was dreaming of the stars, he didn't see a deep well that lay in his path. Before he knew it, he stepped right into the well. Down, down he fell until he hit the water with a splash. He found himself wet and cold, sitting at the bottom of the well. "Help, help," he cried. "I've fallen into the well." A neighbor, who was walking by, heard the cries. He ran to the well and saw the astronomer down below. "What happened, friend?" asked the neighbor, trying not to laugh. "I was observing the stars," the astronomer said, "and I did not see the well." The neighbor shook his head and smiled. "You try so hard to see what's up in the sky that you miss what's right here on the ground." The neighbor helped the astronomer out of the well. The astronomer was embarrassed, but grateful. He had a few scrapes and bruises, but he was mostly fine, just a little wiser. From that night on, the astronomer still looked at the stars. But he learned to also watch where he was going. He understood that while it's good to have dreams and look up high, we mustn't forget to keep our eyes on the path we're walking. And whenever he went out to gaze at the stars, he always took a friend. Together, they would look up at the vast sky, one making sure the other didn't fall again. The astronomer became known in the village as the man who fell into the well. But he also became known for something else. He reminded everyone that while it's important to look up and wonder, it's just as important to look down and see the beauty of the earth. Number 64. The Trusting Sheep and the In a green valley, there lived a flock of sheep. They were gentle and friendly. Near the sheep, there also lived a pack of wolves. The wolves were always hungry and often watched the sheep. The sheep had guardians, a group of loyal dogs. These dogs would bark and chase away the wolves whenever they came too close. The sheep felt safe with the dogs around. One day the wolves had a sly idea. They came to the sheep and said, "Why do we fight all the time? It's those noisy dogs that make us enemies. They bark at us even when we do nothing wrong. If you send them away, we can be friends and live in peace." The sheep were simple and believed the wolves. They thought, it would be nice to live without fear. Maybe the wolves are right. Maybe we can all be friends. So the sheep made a big mistake. They decided to send the dogs away. The dogs were sad and didn't want to leave, but the sheep had made up their minds. The wolves waited and watched. When the dogs left, the wolves came. Without the dogs to protect them, the sheep were easy to catch. The wolves attacked and scattered the flock. Soon the valley was filled with trouble. Without the dogs, the sheep were not safe. The wolves did whatever they wanted. The sheep realized too late that the wolves had tricked them. They missed their dogs and wished they had not sent them away. Finally, the sheep understood that the dogs had been their true protectors. The dogs barked not to cause trouble, but to keep them safe. The sheep learned a hard lesson. They learned that some friends are not what they seem. They also learned to appreciate those who look out for them. From then on, if the dogs ever returned, the sheep would listen to them. They knew the dog's bark was there to protect them from danger. Number 65. The clever Number 65. The Clever Old Woman and the Greedy Doctor. In a small village, there lived an old woman who could no longer see. Her world was dark, and she wished to see the sunlight again. She called a doctor, who was known to be very clever with medicines. The doctor came to visit the old woman, and they made a deal. "If you can make me see again," the old woman said, "I will pay you a lot of money. But if I am still blind, you will get nothing." The doctor agreed, thinking of the money he could make. He began to treat the old woman's eyes, putting on salves and giving her potions to drink. But the doctor was also very greedy. Every time he came to put medicine on her eyes, he would take something from her house. First it was a silver spoon, then a golden bowl, then blankets, and then more, until the old woman had almost nothing left. Finally the doctor told her, "Now you can see again. I have cured you, so you must pay me the money." The old woman looked around her empty house. She could see, yes, but there was nothing to see. All her things were gone. She said to the doctor, "You say I can see, but I must still be blind. For when I was blind I had many things, and now that you say I can see, I have nothing. I cannot see any of my things." The doctor was angry and took the old woman to court. He wanted his money. He told the judge, I cured her, so she must pay." The judge listened to the doctor and then to the old woman. She told the judge, "I promised to pay if I could see, but I cannot see any of my things, so I must still be blind." The judge saw that the doctor was greedy. He understood the old woman's cleverness. The judge said to the doctor, "You did not keep your part of the deal. You made her see, but you took all she could see." In the end, the old woman did not have to pay the doctor. The villagers learned of the doctor's greed and did not trust him anymore. And the old woman? She had her sight, and though she had lost her things, she had her cleverness, which was worth more than gold and silver.